Proceed.
Okay. I was talking to Jose Gonzalez of Sin Fronteras about another family, and he said one of their big needs, and this is a big deal, except it's easier than you think, and it's not cooking, is having someone take a family down to El Paso for their court hearing. I guess there are enough families that need it, and they struggle because often the rest of their family is undocumented, so they can't take them. But anyway, Jerry and I have done it. It's not a big deal. It's a very quick meeting usually. It's just a matter of the physical,
How many
getting them
people
there.
in the family?
Well, it depends on a family.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So it's not one specific family?
No, I'm just saying in general. And there are quite a few people who have also decided that they wouldn't go through with their immigration hearings because they're afraid, but there's still enough. So I know it's a big deal, but if anybody has any questions, you can ask me.
Do you need to speak Spanish?
No, because I figured out the translation.
So the question was, do you need to speak Spanish? And the answer was no. Okay. Another announcement.
Yes.
Helen.
Yes.
And Julie.
I tried to just stay in the seat. You can come forward.
Good morning, everybody. We just came in from Albuquerque yesterday afternoon after attending the Southwest Conference. Come on over here.
The Southwest Conference of the United Church of Christ annual meeting.
And it was wonderful. The people there are just like us. They are the ones that are up and moving and protesting and signing resolutions. And it was a wonderful conference. I learned a lot, and I found out that Julie is well known to everybody in the conference. They hug more there than they do here. They do. It's really strange. But the one thing on Saturday night, we had a banquet. And at the banquet, they were giving out awards for several things. And the one thing that they gave out awards for in recognition was charitable contributions. So they put it all on the screen, and there's hundreds of people watching this. And then this was for the 5 for 5.
5 for 5.
Contributions.
Short list. Big churches, and I'm looking at it going, oh, we didn't make it.
We didn't make it. And then they go, oh, but we have the 7 for 7
churches.
And guess who was one of the 3 7 for 7? And
No, it was like 8 churches.
It was 3 churches for 7 for 7, and Taos UCC, the smallest of all, was one of the biggest contributors. So we got a standing ovation. Everybody thanked us.
Because everybody knows we're lay-led, we're small, everybody knows. So everybody went crazy
Yes.
with us.
So I have a recognition here. I'm going to put it in a frame, and we'll put it on the
needs to just
wall.
go in that frame.
So,
yeah.
okay,
That's where the old one is.
okay, we
Yeah.
have a new one.
Yay.
And that's it.
Thank you. So I'm not sure who should go first, Scott, for this.
Why don't you go first?
Okay. Yeah.
Good morning, church. Lou's going to come up in just a few minutes and bear witness as one of our witnessing stewards for the season. We're entering into our pledge season for our fiscal year that starts July 1st of 2025. And I think a lot of you, or you should have all received like your progress report against your 2024 pledges. Yeah, progress report. You notice I didn't grade them. Anyway, a stewardship letter will be coming out sometime this week. It'll, pretty much come by email. It'll have all the instructions for how to place, do your pledge, and whether you want to do it monthly or, for the whole year, or however you want to set it up. And if you're inclined to use hard copy, there are pledge sheets on that back little table back behind leaving them. You can grab one of these and use it. So, what else? Oh, I'd like, hopefully I'll get pledges back by June 1, so I can put together the church budget for 2025. And finally, we're looking ahead to our annual meeting that'll be July 6th. And in that meeting, we'll ratify the budget and all that kind of stuff. So that's enough business stuff. So Luke, come on up.
Your turn.
Good morning, friends and neighbors. Last week, my pal Sid asked me to come witness this morning. Well, fine. About what? Sid said, well, come tell us why you give money to the TUCC. Well, I answer that simple. I do it because my one true beloved tells me to. And as all the world knows, I always do what my beloved tells me to do. There's more to it than that, of course. The most unlikely, unpredictable thing that has happened to Helen and I in this chapter of our life is that we stumbled and found ourselves in this place of such love and such joy. And we are continually amazed at the strength and bonds of love that bind this congregation together, and we're equally amazed at the power of the joy that brings to us. And over time, I have come to think of this little place, this little small but mighty place, as a real live walking, talking miracle. We all well know that we live in a world that is dark and becoming darker. It is a world that is cruel and brutal and violent and bloody and ugly. It is a world that marked by people screaming the name of Jesus from the housetops to justify the most un-Jesus-like things. People, as the saying goes, with mouths full of scripture and hearts full of hate. And in the midst of that darkness, there is an incandescent light that comes from this place. And it spreads out through this place and through our community. And it's not just the light of our love, it is the light, in my mind, of that rarest of things on this earth, grace. Grace that is a love that is uncaused, unprovoked, unconditioned, and a love that is given without hope of reward. Amen. It is the mark of what is, I didn't expect this to happen. It is the mark of what is divine within us. And me and my beloved are so deeply, profoundly grateful that we can have some little part of that miracle. And if that little part is money, well, then by God, it's cheap at the price. And we're proud to do it. And we know you feel the same way. Thanks for being patient with me.
Thank you, Lou. Thank you, Helen. All right. Well, now we get the treat of listening to Rhinda play some music.
I've never played my flute not in a group, so this is my first solo. And I hope it goes well. Looks like I've got you right. Okay, that's good. This is called the Cherokee Morning Song. It's an old song that's been rewritten by Rita Coolidge, who's a Cherokee, and she rearranged it. Sorry. I don't know why it's not working. This always happens, doesn't it? Technology, right? Yeah, and the least technical. that one's not doing right. It must be more human. I can't get to the right octave. I wanted you to hear it because it's an integral part of a Cherokee church service, which is usually just like all of our church services. Now I'm going to move back. I practiced all week with sitting down, and I was afraid not to sit down. I brought some rattles from different parts of Taos County. This rattle came from the Picaris Pueblo, and it's very natural, has bark still on it. This is rawhide. I don't know how they got it so hard, and it rattles. This one is from Taos Pueblo. A man was walking around and selling them, just wandering through the Pueblo, and he said his grandmother made it. I think it has a really nice sound. And this one is mine. You can, when you go to powwows, you get all kinds of good stuff and materials, and this was a blank, and I painted it and put the leather on, and it pleases me. These are my feathers. I make up rules for myself because I'm an old art teacher, and I made up rules for my students to force them to be creative, so I do it to myself. These had to come from my yard. So this one is usually a men's feather, and it's usually white, and the meaning of the feather it's called a single decorated feather, depends on what kind of feather you put in it. A white turkey feather is for peace, and that's the most common one. Men often carry the peace feather to their weddings. And these are raven feathers. I used 2 because I got them from a raven rumble that was going on in my front yard, and the feathers are not in good shape, but I have rules. And this one is a hawk feather, and my hawk feathers are pristine because the hawk flew over our house at night and died in midair and hit the roof. So when I got up in the morning and looked out to see what hit the roof, there was a dead hawk, and I made my husband pull out some of the feathers because they're not easy to get out. And hawk feathers represent communion with the universe. So and this is my flute. It came from Taos Pueblo, Robert Mirabal, and his flutes are very well made. I've bought commercial flutes, and they're not as nice as this one, and it has a nice sound. Did I play it? Yeah, good. I'm having memory problems because I don't get enough oxygen. So if I seem odd sometimes to you, that's usually it. So today I'm going to, we haven't sung yet, have we?
No, let's do that.
Okay.
Thank you, Rhinda, for that beginning. So, this prayer is an excerpt from a Haudenosaunee prayer. We have gathered and we see that the cycles of life continue. We have been given the duty to live in balance and harmony with each other and all living things. So now, we bring our minds together as one, as we give greetings and thanks to each other as people. Now our minds are one. We are all thankful to our Mother, the Earth, for she gives us all that we need for life. She supports our feet as we walk about upon her. It gives us joy that she continues to care for us as she has from the beginning of time. To our Mother, we send greetings and thanks. Now our minds are one. We give thanks to all the waters of the world for quenching our thirst and providing us with strength. Water is life. We know its power in many forms: waterfalls and rain, mists and streams, rivers and oceans. With one mind, we send greetings and thanks to the Spirit of water. Now our minds are one. And it's time for us to light candles, bring our prayers, and I'm going to play the Huron Carol, which may be familiar. You have the words to it in your thing. It's the tune of "'Twas in the dead of winter time," that kind of thing. But the words are different to me. They're very tiny, so pay attention. Let us begin. Test, test, yeah. 'Twas in the mist of winter time, when all the birds had fled, the mighty Gitche Manitou sent angel choirs instead. Before their light the stars grew dim, and wandering hunters heard the hymn, Jesus, your kingdom born, Jesus is born, in excelsis Gloria. Within a lot of broken bark, the tender babe was found, a ragged robe of rabbit skin enwrapped his beauty round. But as the hunter braves grew nigh, the angel's song rang loud and high, Jesus, your King is here, Jesus is here, in excelsis Gloria. O children of the forest fire, O sons of Manitou, the holy child of earth and heaven is born today for you. Come kneel before the radiant boy who brings you beauty, peace, and joy. Jesus, your King is here. Jesus is here, in excelsis Gloria. The earliest morn of winter time is not so round and fair as was the ring of glory on the helpless infant there. The chiefs from far before him knelt, with gifts of fox and beaver pelt. Jesus, your King is here. Jesus is here in excelsis Gloria. 'Twas in the moon of winter time, when all the birds had fled, the mighty Gitche Manitou sent angel choirs instead. Before their light the stars grew dim, and wondering hunters heard the hymn. Jesus, your King is here. Jesus is here in excelsis glory.
The first reading today is from Proverbs chapter 22, verse 28. Don't remove an ancient boundary stone that was set up by your ancestors. The second reading comes from the UCC's repudiation of the doctrine of discovery. When Rhinda asked me to read this, I don't think you knew, but I was on a study committee that met for 2 years that culminated in the CRC's repudiation of the doctrine of discovery, co-authored a 60-page report. If anybody needs a little nighttime reading, might help you sleep. When you get a historian, a literature professor, nothing is short, but it was thorough, so that's sweet. A resolution calling for the United Church of Christ to repudiate the doctrine of discovery, which authorized the genocide of native peoples and the theft of native lands. Whereas Protestant churches, beginning as early as 1609, when English clergy in Jamestown developed a coherent narrative that brought together a legal rationalization for invading America, debasing American Indians, and made a Christian commitment to convert Indians, a commitment which they never delivered. And whereas the Supreme Court in 1823 in Johnson versus McIntosh incorporated into American law the doctrine by claiming the United States inherited the American conquest from the English. And whereas 1845 was the first time the phrase manifest destiny was used to affirm the USA and was called by Providence to dominate the continent for the free development of America's inevitable growth, manifest destiny grew out of and was based on the doctrine of discovery. Therefore, be it resolved that the 29th General Synod of the United Church of Christ repudiates the doctrine of discovery.
Hi, I'm Rhinda, and I'm starting with a poem. A Prayer for Words by N. Scott Momaday, Pulitzer Prize-winning author for young adults and a citizen of the Navajo Nation. Here's the wind bending the reeds westward, the patchwork of morning on gray moraine. Had I words, I could tell of origin, of God's hands bloody with birth at first light, of my thin squeals in the heat of his breath, of the taste of being, the bitterness, and sense of camas root and chokecherries. And God, if my mute heart expresses me, I am the rolling thunder and the bursts of torrents upon the rock, the whispering of old leaves, the silence of deep canyons. I am the rattle of mortality. I picked up the flute. I could tell of the splintered sun, I could articulate the night sky if I had words. Indigenous worship reflects the cultural values of a community. Indigenous worship can include songs from indigenous traditions as well as classic hymns. Indigenous worship can help people understand how their Christian identity intersects with ethnic identity. 66% of the Native Americans in the United States are Christian, mostly Protestant. For example, Indigenous Mennonite congregations sing songs from a variety of sources, including songs from their cultural traditions. United Methodists encourage congregations to cultivate, celebrate, and preserve their diversity. The hymn, La Ki Parle, comes from a lake near the border of Minnesota and South Dakota. The hymn is associated with Joseph Renville, a Dakota man who lived in La Ki Parle, Minnesota. In 1835, an Indian agent suggested to Thomas Smith Williamson, MD, that he set up a mission at La Ki Parle. Dr. Williamson agreed after learning that Renville would welcome the missionaries if they taught his children in school. Joseph and Mary Renville, who had been married in the Dakota tradition in 1806 and in the Catholic Church in 1829, were converted to Protestantism along with some children in 1836. The mission was less successful in converting Dakota men because the missionaries required them to reject polygamy. However, there were a handful of men who regularly went to the church and the school at the mission over the years. The missionaries and Renville translated the Bible and various hymnals into the Dakota language. The process was slow. A Bible verse would be read. Renville would translate it into Dakota, and then his words would be written down, trying to approximate a language that few people knew. Renville's translations were among the first attempts to record Dakota in written form. Renville spent the last 10 years of his life working on translating the Bible. It was a project that took another 30 years after he died, but Renville did a lot of the foundational work on it. One thing that was published in 1842 during his lifetime was a hymnal composed by, it contained 3 hymns composed by Joseph Renville, and their names are La Ki Parle, La Framboise, and Renville. La Ki Parle appears in many modern hymnals and is probably the world's most widely known melody of North American indigenous origin. It is possibly a Dakota chant, which Renville made into a Christian hymn. It was probably something his mother sang to him. La Ki Parle Mission was a site for Christian missionary work for the Dakotas for nearly 20 years. After Renville's death in 1846, the mission was taken over by the irreligious Martin McLeod. Apparently, they were not receptive to non-Christian people, so the mission's relationship with the Dakota soured, and in 1854, the missionaries left La Ki Parle for the Upper Sioux Agency. La Ki Parle mission was abandoned and fell into disrepair. On December 26, 1862, following the U.S.-Dakota War of 1862 over treaty disputes, the federal government hanged 38 members of the Dakota tribe in Minnesota. It is still the largest mass execution in United States history. Traditionally, it is said that the men marched to the gallows singing La Ki Parle. In 1668, a 14-year-old Canadian Wyandotte girl named Therese lay on her deathbed singing about the birth of Christ. She would pass away the next day, possibly from a European-born disease. Later, a Jesuit priest named Francois-Joseph Le Mercier told Therese's story in a letter to his superiors in France. Father Mercier wrote this to his superior, quote, "She began to sing, 'Jesus is going to be born,' which is an air sung by the Hurons on Christmas festivals. Le Mercier's letter is the first reference to the Huron carol, a Christmas song in the Wyandotte language, probably written sometime in the early 1640s. In Wyandotte, the song is called Jesus Ahatonia, which means Jesus is born. The Huron-Wendat Nation is an Iroquois-speaking nation documented in 17th century Canada. In French, used most by the members of the Huron tribe, they are called the Nation Huron-Wendat. The French gave the nickname Huron to the Wendat from the French word hure, meaning boar's head, because of the hairstyle of the Huron men who had their hair standing in bristles on their head. Wendat was their confederacy name, meaning people of the island. The Great Lake Huron is named after the Huron-Wendat nation. Therese's community had lived through a difficult 50 years. The Wyandotte Confederacy numbered around 25,000 people before Europeans made contact with them. By the 1640s, as many as half of them had died. A war with the Iroquois in the late 1640s destroyed many of their villages and killed even more of their people, forcing a dispersal from their traditional territory in Ontario. Therese's Christmas Eve singing of the carol anticipated a long tradition. The Jesuits were successful in Christianizing the Wyandotte people. La Église Notre-Dame de Lorette, the small Catholic church in Windake, heard the carol at Christmas time. Today, the song is still sung in Wyandotte at the church, where it has a special place in Christian masses. Outside of Windake, the song has become even more popular, celebrated as the first Canadian Christmas carol and an example of Indigenous heritage. It has been recorded often and has even been on postage stamps. But for some, the context of the song's origin complicates its meaning today. The carol represents not just the birth of Jesus for North America, but also the destructive presence of the church in the communities, showing the song's power to assimilate. The Moravian school church cultural centers provided opportunities for sharing and learning between whites and Cherokees, both in the Southeast and in the Cherokee Nation in Oklahoma. By the early 19th century, the Moravians established Spring Place Mission in northwestern Georgia. By the end of 1841, there were 72 Cherokees associated with the Moravians. My 4 times great-grandfather, Michael Foreman, was one of them. Another mission, called New Spring Place, developed in 1844 after the Trail of Tears, near the present site of Oaks, Oklahoma. In 1898, the Moravians closed New Spring Place, and in 1902, the church became affiliated with the Danish Lutheran Church at Oaks. The Lutherans opened a boarding school at the mission in 1926. In the late 1950s, my Cherokee grandfather taught at Oaks Mission School, which had been absorbed into the public schools by then. My Cherokee mother taught English there in 1962 and 1964, and she met Charles Doyle, a Muskogee Indian student living at the boarding school under court order. In 1965, my parents adopted Charlie. He lives in Kingman, Arizona, and visits us in Taos. Before the Trail of Tears, the complete New Testament was translated into Cherokee by Awi, whose English name was David Brown. He was born in 1790 and was a Cherokee clergyman and translator who worked in Mississippi. As a youth, he was educated in schools for American Indians in Tennessee and Connecticut. He also attended Andover Theological Seminary in Massachusetts before returning to the South. The Cherokees have a relationship with some of the Ivy League schools, including, especially Dartmouth. The first printing of a Bible portion in Cherokee appeared in the Missionary Herald of December 1827. It was from Genesis, translated by missionary Samuel Worcester. In 1828, David Brown and George Lowry translated Matthew, the Gospel. This was printed in the Cherokee Phoenix newsletter in July 28 through July 29. The Cherokee Phoenix Weekly is still published, and I receive a copy each week along with the rest of the Cherokees. One of the most touching donations, the National Museum of American Indians, which is under duress now and may disappear, has received is a Cherokee prayer card carried during World War II by U.S. Army Sergeant Woodrow Wilson, Woody Roach, a Cherokee born in 1912 and lived till 1984. In your packet is the Lord's Prayer, printed 3 times on the prayer card in the Cherokee syllabary, which are characters that represent syllables, it's not an alphabet, in Cherokee phonetics and in English. The Lord's Prayer appeared in the Bible in the Gospel of Matthew. It's part of the Sermon on the Mount, and the prayer card was given to the museum in 2014 by Roach's granddaughter, Della Boyer. Woody Roach and his family believed that his prayer card protected him. He was trained at Fort Chaffee near Fort Smith, Arkansas. He served with the 5th Battalion. In Italy, Roach not only saw heavy combat, but also put his life at grave risk to save his fellow soldiers. He and his unit were under enemy gunfire, and a road grader blocked their path. Roach managed to drive the construction machinery out of the way, with bullets whizzing around his head. After World War II, Roach worked for many years as an engineer for the Bureau of Indian Affairs. This was during the period of Jim Crow laws and racial discrimination in the South. Once at a movie theater in Philadelphia, Mississippi, Roach was told that he could not sit with his wife in the all-white section of the theater. Roach happened to know the mayor, so he got up and then talked to the mayor and spent the evening in the white section sitting with his wife. So when he retired from the BIA, Roach taught industrial arts at the Sequoia Indian School in Tahlequah, Oklahoma, my hometown. Thank you.
Thank you.